Welcome back to Spirit Sherpa, where we bring spiritual practitioners, coaches, and teachers into success, sovereignty, and spiritual expansion. I'm your host, Kelle Sparta, transformational shaman and spiritual business coach. And today we are going to do a sacred business calibration with Alida Moncada. And we are going to talk about her business. And the sacred business calibration, if you haven't been here before, is all about tapping into the business and using really grounded strategic business advice and balancing that with intuition and past life work and ancestral work and sacred contracts, whatever shows up energetically in the moment to get your business unstuck and on track to success. So thanks for coming to the show, Alida. And if you would just introduce yourself and your business and tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you for having me. My name is Alida. I was born in Peru. Now I'm a dual citizen. I'm located in Massachusetts. And I run a business that is called I Am Mama. And basically, I do family constellations, but not only pure family constellations, I also do intergenerational trauma healing, past life regressions, and biomagnetism, that is a pair magnet therapy. And I do sessions one on one. I do circles. I do classes, specific classes like Mother Wound, Father Wound. But what I'm focused now more about is the courses that I want to do twice or three times a year. There are cycle breaking courses that they will be 3 to 4 months. And I just released my first Oracle deck that is called Cycle Breaking, based in family constellations.
Wow, that's amazing. I don't know of any other decks based on family constellation.
There's no in English, but they have one author in France, but they translated in Spanish, and there is another one from Mexico. So there are those two, but there's no.
Interesting.
There.
Well, given that family constellation originated in Germany, the fact that there isn't a German version is pretty surprising. And so, my question to you is, what caused you? I know you got him to sign up. He told me that after we had our
Mhm.
call. So,
Um, I do one-on-one sessions, but do more group classes like these 3 4 months, because that's the way that I learned. The first year that I learned family constellations, it lasted 2 years. And I went through the mother, the father, siblings, illnesses, body movements, and it was so transformational for me in every single level. So I always say, if I will keep one thing for the rest of my life, will be family constellations. But when I put that offer, I get clients, I get people to sign up. But either then at half, but that will happen because your soul will create some resistance. They will show up or they will pay me, but they will never come to the class, although they are recorded, but they are not taking a full advantage of what they are receiving, right? And I wanted to promote it more. I would like to have a little bit more people sign up for these courses. And that was basically, and because I just released my Oracle deck, but I don't know why, but I feel that this Oracle deck is gonna change my life because of the reason that you said. No one else has made it.
right. Yeah. So, okay. So for those of you who've been listening to the podcast for a while, you have heard Kathy talk about family constellation work in the past. We have an entire episode on family constellation work in the podcast, so you can go and listen to that if you want to understand it. Okay. So people don't understand what it is until they experience it. And that is a huge barrier to entry because you can't teach and sell at the same time. And so, what I would suggest is to have your sessions be free for the first session. And that way, and then you ask people to bring people with them because even free for the first session, the big problem that you're going to have here is that it's the same problem that all transformational teachers have. And that is that the average person says they want to transform, but they don't actually. They're terrified of it. Right. So when they feel into the container that you're holding, they will feel that they are actually going to transform, and that will create fear for them. And then they start to fear the container And then they say, well, then clearly it's not for me, right? I'm trusting my gut that this is bad. It's like, no, no, you're afraid because you're going to change. If you're not excited and a little scared, then you're not going to get anything out of it, right? In a transformational experience. And so every transformational experience that works is a little scary. That's just the nature of the beast, because transformation means the old you dies and a new you is reborn, right? And that is the nature of the beast. And we are afraid of death at a core level. And so, the target market for this work is absolutely not beginners.
Yeah.
Okay. Beginners are not prepared to hear what it is that you're talking about. They won't understand the process. They will fear the transformation. They will get overwhelmed at the energy. They will shut down and run away if at all possible. Okay. Now, not to say that they can't do the work, they absolutely can. But in this context of trying to sell people, you're going to have a hard time with beginners because they do not have the context to understand what you're doing. Okay. So you need to be selling to people who are already on their spiritual path for somewhere between 3 and 5 years. Okay. They don't have to be practitioners, but they do have to be serious spiritual seekers. Okay. So that's your target market. And then it's people who are looking to heal, right? To heal and expand. And, family constellation work's amazing. It really is. It does in very short periods of time. It's basically shamanic ritual in a structured format that's it's kind of, if it were in a nature context, it would definitely be shamanic. Okay, but outside of a natural context, it's a little bastardized, right? It's a little combo. Right. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm just saying it's not fully in that, but it is very much shamanic in nature. And so the work itself is super important and impactful. And so I have no doubt that you have great outcomes, right? This is the other problem with family constellation work, is that defining the outcomes can be problematic because it's different every time you do it. There are structures that you use, but being able to advertise this is the outcome is very difficult because it's not about the outcome, it's about the person. Right. And you can't promise an outcome if they won't go there. If they stay in curiosity, or if they don't move, or if they don't shift, or if they don't do something, then the outcome is not going to be there. Right. It's entirely based on their ability to walk through the process. So, because this is usually the first thing I tell people is you advertise the outcome, right? It's like, you don't talk about if you're selling a vacation, you talk about the beach. You don't talk about the plane. You don't talk about getting to the airport. You talk about the beach, right? And so you're not talking about the process. In this case, because the process has so many potential different outcomes, what you can advertise is bringing things to the surface that are not evident, right? Finding things within the family structure, going back through ancestors as well, that are not present conscious in your system. That's an outcome you can guarantee. Okay? You can guarantee an outcome of a greater understanding of where things originate and the potential to change it, right? Potential, because that's all about them, right? And then what's another thing you can advertise? And so even though you'll only get X amount of time if you're the person who's in the chair, you will still get an outcome even if you're never in the chair, right? So that's another piece that you can talk about in your work, in your advertising. Okay. So one of the things that you need to be clear about is what it is that you're selling. Okay. So I just talked to you about constellation work because constellation work it's hard to frame. If you were selling this in Germany where it originated, everybody knows what constellation work is and it would be so much easier, right? But here or there in the US, I'm not there anymore. But in the US, it's harder because not everybody knows what it is. Now, the good news is Kathy and Sandy have done a bunch of family constellation work in your area, and there's another practitioner in your area too, in Massachusetts, who have done it. So you do have some people who have a context, but it's still not a large group. Okay. So the key is to be able to frame it in a way that people can understand and contextualize it. Okay. Because if you have to educate them about the process, you can't do that at the same time as you're selling the process, because the sales and education are two different pieces. You can't do both at the same time. So if you're going to do an education piece, just do an education piece. Get them onto your mailing list, right? But if you're going to sell, just sell. So that's the differential, all right? And the methodology doesn't really matter, right? They want the outcome anyway. So when you look at the work that you do for all of the work that you do, the outcome is what?
Well, maybe it's too technical, but they are gonna feel peaceful. They are gonna feel calm. They are gonna, and the most important for me, at least from family constellation, but this psychogenealogy part that I add up to this is that you see life different. So you are not trapped in what I thought that I was in my limitations.
So what you want to be able to language in your marketing is you want to be able to say, you know, when you change your perspective, and I totally agree with you, by the way, my entire first program in my series is perspective shift, right? When you can see the world differently, you experiencing differently, right? And when you experience it differently, everything changes, right? So that is a really valid way to approach it and to talk about it. But you can't have it just be that. It has to be so that you have better relationships, a better ability to build your business or career, a better ability to parent, that all of these things, you need to lay them out, right? Be a better parent. So all of that, right? So, okay. So I think we've got the benefits side down, which is crucial, right? And we've talked a little bit about how to talk about the work, right? Let's talk about the business model, okay? Because right now, the way that you describe your business is you're doing a bunch of different services and processes, right? And that is not a brand. That is a bunch of products and services, right? What you need is a brand. You need an overarching construct that people can tap into and say, oh, when I do this, I get that, right? And so for you, I would say I would include in any purchase that somebody makes the Oracle cards, because it's a tool that they can use to work with the stuff when you're not with them, right? That's a bonus that they get along with it. And then you can sell them separately. If they don't want to sign up for the whole program, you can sell those separately as well.
Now, this is not family constellation, but this is decoding every emotion.
Okay.
So that's what I tell you. Every session they learn something and they release something.
Okay. That seems like a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot, but it's really good.
I'm not going to argue that it's really good.
Oh,
I'm not going to argue that, but I am going to say it feels like too much for the average person. And that may be why you're having a hard time enrolling people. We have a tendency, because we've been through the work already, to be like, oh, yeah, we'll just deliver this all in an order and it'll be fine. My big suggestion to you is, if you're going to do it this way, that you make each of those a different class. Mother wound, one class. Father wound, one class.
that's what I'm doing.
No. Not one instance of a larger program. One piece of
I
work.
understand.
Okay. So that people can take them one at a time and not commit to the entire process, because not everybody has the bandwidth to do. And especially right now in the US, it's so overwhelming for people's energies right now with the energies that are going on in the US, that I don't think that you're going to have a lot of people who are willing to commit at that level for that much, because it's a lot. So that, I think, is, you're trying to do too much too fast. And I know we're all trying to do that, because we're all like, everybody needs to be here yesterday because it's awesome. And it sucked to be where I was before. And we're all in that space of we want to give more, but you have to also take in what people can absorb. and what people can move through and how fast they can move before they just like melt down on the floor and need to just take a break. Right. So, that happens in my work too. I have to really pay attention to that. I actually build in integration time in my programs. And even so, sometimes people are like, I need a break between this program and the next one. And I'm like, totally get it. Right. Because I'm accelerating the process of transformation. And therefore it's going to take a while. Right. So here's the next piece to consider is right now you're doing a lot of the work through the family constellation, through the bio work, through the past life work, all of that. I'm hearing a lot of energy work and not a lot of contextualization. And one of the ways that makes it easier for people to integrate the information is to give their brain something to contextualize their experience so that they can have some words to wrap their brain around, not just an experience. Because experience is great, but you have to contextualize it in order to retain it, right? You have to be able to put it in context with everything else you know. And so if you are walking people through this process, and this is another way to make it a little longer for them, because they're going to need the time to, it's not just about walking people through the transformation, it's about getting them to believe they've walked through the transformation and that it has stuck, right? Because they can have an experience, but if they're in resistance to that change, if that change is holding a piece of their identity, then they will have amnesia about that experience. They'll completely forget it existed because it challenges their identity, right? And so if you can give them a context, so like, when I'm doing my programs, I have an opening self-assessment and a closing self-assessment because they forget where they started, right? And that's the same idea is that people forget what the experience was if the experience is out of context with their reality and with their stories, with their identity and belief about themselves. If you're not doing belief changing along with the experiential process, then holding that transformation becomes much harder. Does that make sense? Yeah. So and I highly suggest that you do this, I highly suggest that you split it up into different classes for each one, different programs for each one. So if you want it to stick, giving them some way to contextualize it, that's super helpful. Okay. You have any questions about what I just said?
No,
Okay. You've been pretty neutral. So how are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good. Just trying to.
Take it in. You'll get a recording when we're done. Don't worry.
It's-
Um, okay. So the big picture is heal your wounds, right? That's the big picture. That's what you've been talking about in this. And so what you need is a brand that reflects that. And the brand needs to say, here's where you come to heal, right? And so I haven't looked at your website. Is that what your website says? Or is there something different?
Probably something different.
Okay. Yeah. So you need that to be your overarching brand because your brand needs to say, what do I get when I come here? Okay. So, Spirit Guide School is my brand. And I take everybody from spiritual awakening through till they're spiritual teachers at a very high level, understanding everything that is in the energetic world, right? That's what I do. It's a wide swath of stuff. I don't try to say more than that because it's too much to say and as the big picture, right? But the concept is there. It's like, oh, this is where I come if I want to be a serious practitioner, right? And, it starts off with a serious seeker and goes to serious practitioner. It's a very simple concept that can be said in one sentence to someone who may want to refer you to somebody else. They need to know in one sentence what it is that you do. And so your website needs to be able to say that clearly and succinctly, right? Just very simply. And so your thing is, you come here to heal your wounds. Bam, that's it. Okay. And then people can ask more questions from there. But that's what we do. What we do is we help you heal your wounds, right?
Mm.
And so it doesn't say the how, it doesn't say the what, it just says, well, it doesn't say the how, it doesn't say the process, it just says the what, right? So that's what you're going for. And so within that context, you build everything else, right? So I don't think you can't do the magnets with people who are not in person, right?
No, I can.
You can. Oh, okay. Fantastic. So then I would build that into the program too. Okay. So if you buy into the program, you get X, Y, Z, A, B, C, right? All these different pieces, right? Because then it becomes an integrated process and not just a bunch of different things that you do. Okay. And so they get the cards to work in between sessions. Can you do it as a group or do you have to do it individually with the magnets? We're not adding things just to add things. We're adding things to provide the optimal path from where they are to where you're taking them. Okay. So whatever it needs to be done, that's how you build it. And now that you've created a framework around all the things that you do, now that makes sense, right? 3 per month was a good price. Okay. Right now, if you're charging less than $300 a month, you're going to end up with people with payment issues. They won't pay on time. They'll be constantly behind. All of that stuff happens. That's been my experience in anything less than $300 a month. Once you get over $300 a month, the people who sign up for that are fewer, but they make their payments on time. And the only time they miss payments is if a credit card got stolen or it expired or, whatever, right? They had fraud, whatever. So that is a rare occurrence. So it's far less in way of customer service issues in tracking people down for their payments if you do over $300 payment. Okay. Now, a one-time class. So a mother wound class in my book should be a minimum of 3 months. It's probably more like 6 months to a year. Okay. Realistically, just because, and for women, it'll be more than for men. And father work will be more for men than for women, typically, not always, but that's sort of on average because men have problems with their fathers and women have problems with their mothers, and on average, stereotypically. But, it takes a while to walk through those and to understand what's underpinning them. So, I would say if I were going to do this, I would offer a 3-month program with the option to retake the class and do a deeper level at half price,
Mhm.
right? So, because if they're not done, they can do it again, right? And they can do it, 3 or 4 times, but they only get the half price once, right? So they don't get half for the next round. That doesn't work that way. But that's the idea, right? So I would do the same thing, but I would just offer it in individual sections and take 3 months per section that you were going to do in this 3-month course that you had originally designed. Yeah.
But you overlap them? Like what I'm trying to say is like you do first the 3 months that you release is mother wound, right? Or maternal lineage, right? Um, July, September, let's say. And the father wound October to December. Something like that.
So how much of what you're putting in is actually, let me ask this question differently. My content is linear, right? So you need to learn one thing before you learn the next thing, before you learn the next thing, right? But my content is online. And what I do in session live is coaching. Or for you, it'd be constellation work and coaching, right? Can you put your content into a learning management system and then do the online portion as coaching?
what will be the system? Like if I have recording classes,
Mhm. Yeah,
pre-recording.
recording the class. Yeah.
That's what we've been doing with my husband. So
Yeah.
so I have already everything recorded.
Okay. So it is already online. So
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest to you that they be rolling enrollment classes, all of them. So
How
you
is that?
promote them quarterly. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So they can sign up for any of these classes at any time. They don't have to all sign up at a launch, but you change each quarter what you're promoting.
Yeah.
And that way you can promote the different aspects of it. Right. And then that way you are able to do this. That's amazing. But then the confusion sets in, which one is for me? Right. And that's where the discovery call comes in, or, other things. But if you're doing a $300 program, it can't be $300 program. It has to be at least 1,000, preferably more like 2 or 3, to justify you doing a discovery call with everyone. So until you have your quiz built where you can say, hey, this is the right program for you, you can do that into a mid-ticket program, which is, up to $1,500. But you can't do that into a high ticket. High ticket is going to require a sales call.
Mm.
Okay, you're going to have a conversation with them that, $750 to $1,500 range. Okay. Anything above that, you're going to have to do a discovery call. Okay. Even with the quiz and everything else, because it's a big purchase. Okay. So, so that's the overall framework of what you're doing. So your overall framework then becomes, what you sell becomes, clear all your wounds, right? And you're not going to say in one session, which is the BS meter goes off for that, right? Anybody who says that, I'm like, oh, that's so about you and not about me, and you're going to hurt me if you do them, because you can't clear everybody's wounds all in one session. That's insane. They can't take in the transformation that well. There may be soul retrieval work to be done. There could be any number of things, and that would block that process. So, you could shred somebody's aura trying to do that all at once. So and you're going to have to take into account the integration time in between your classes. Okay.
No, it's good. I'm not overwhelmed. I am like, and I'm very grateful that I do this type of work, because if I will be a lawyer all the time, which I am for my business in Peru and for my nonprofit that I have here, the things that I do here, I cannot stay in my mind too much, right?
Yeah.
But no, this was very helpful, and I appreciate your time.
Oh, you're very welcome. Okay. So how will people find you?
My website is www.ayamama.org, and I have a podcast on YouTube that is Ancestral Healing with Alida, and I am on Instagram as Ayamama Alida as well.
Okay. And Ayamama is AYAMAMA. Okay. And so that's fantastic. And guys, if you have anybody in your life who is building a course and wanting to put things together, this would be a great episode to share with them. And it's a great way to balance your karma with us, in terms of if you've gotten anything from any of the episodes you've listened to. This is a great way to balance that out. It also helps us grow the podcast and change the world faster by helping people to get out there and do their work and fulfill their missions on the planet. And so you can also like, subscribe, share, rate. I'm desperately in need of Apple ratings. I haven't had somebody rate the podcast on Apple in like a year. So it'd be lovely if you could write an Apple review. And remember, what you focus on expands. What you intend is what you create. So choose wisely.